Imagine standing on the edge of financial ruin, your bold predictions shattered, your credibility in tatters, your ego crushed. Most would fold. Ray Dalio? He turned that moment into the foundation of a philosophy that would shake Wall Street to its core. From the wreckage of a failed bet on the US economy in 1982, Dalio didn't retreat. He reflected. And out of that reflection came a radical new approach to life, business, and investing. One rooted in pain, truth, and the relentless pursuit of understanding how the world really works. You see, Dalio doesn't just read markets, he reverse engineers them like a scientist. He dissects economies with surgical precision. He builds principles like an engineer builds systems. And in doing so, he created something more powerful than profit, a framework for thinking, deciding, and thriving in a world that punishes the unprepared. He's not your typical billionaire hedge fund titan. He's a cartographer of chaos, a philosopher in pinstripes, a man who believes that understanding reality, no matter how brutal, is the only way to win. And in an era where narratives dominate markets, where noise drowns out insight, Ray Dalio offers something rare: clarity, discipline, principles. This isn't just a story about money. It's a blueprint for mastering complexity. And it starts with one uncomfortable truth: pain plus reflection, progress. Are you ready to learn from the man who turned financial failure into a doctrine for elite performance? Let's step into the mind of Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio didn't climb to the top of Wall Street by following the crowd. He did it by breaking everything apart: markets, systems, egos, and rebuilding from first principles. And it all started not with success, but with failure. In 1982, Dalio made a bold call that the US economy was heading for collapse. He laid it out on TV, printed it in reports, even bet his firm on it. But the crash never came. Instead, markets soared, and Dalio lost almost everything. Bridgewater Associates, the firm he had started from a two-bedroom apartment, was reduced to a shell. He had to borrow $4,000 from his dad just to keep going. But here's where the story turns. Dalio didn't let failure define him. He dissected it. He tore apart every assumption, every bias, every emotional impulse that led him astray. And what emerged wasn't just a better investor. It was a new kind of thinker. He realized that success in investing or in life isn't about being right all the time. It's about being brutally honest with yourself, about learning fast, failing well, and building decision-making frameworks that are stronger than your emotions. So Dalio built a new model, one rooted in data, logic, and radical transparency. At Bridgewater, he pioneered a culture where every meeting is recorded, where interns can challenge CEOs, where truth is the ultimate currency. It's uncomfortable, it's confrontational, but it works. Because in a world flooded with noise, Dalio figured out how to build clarity. And that clarity led Bridgewater to grow into the world's largest hedge fund, managing over $150 billion, advising central banks and governments, predicting debt cycles, geopolitical shifts, and economic crises with uncanny precision. But this isn't just about returns. It's about thinking at scale, operating with discipline, seeing what others can't or won't. Ray Dalio's true genius isn't in predicting the market. It's in creating systems that adapt, evolve, and outlast. And it all began the moment he chose to confront pain instead of avoid it. Ray Dalio didn't just rise through the ranks. He built his own path. Born in 1949 in New York, he grew up in a modest middle-class family. His passion for investing sparked early. At just 12 years old, he used money earned from caddying to buy his first stock, Northeast Airlines. It tripled. That moment lit a fire that never went out. In 1975, armed with nothing but conviction and an MBA from Harvard, Dalio launched Bridgewater Associates from his small two-bedroom apartment. No backing, no fame, just a deep obsession with understanding how economies actually function. Decades later, Bridgewater didn't just survive. It dominated. It became the largest hedge fund in the world, managing over $150 billion in assets for some of the most powerful clients on the planet: central banks, sovereign wealth funds, pension giants. But Dalio's influence extended far beyond returns. He's the author of the global bestseller Principles, Life and Work, a book hailed by figures like Bill Gates and Tony Robbins for its insight into decision-making and leadership. The book became a manual, not just for investors, but for CEOs, policymakers, and thinkers worldwide. Dalio also pioneered a radical approach to company culture, what he calls radical transparency and radical truth. At Bridgewater, people aren't just allowed to challenge ideas, they're expected to. It's an operating system that's uncomfortable to many, but powerful for those who can handle it. Recognized by Forbes as a billionaire, Dalio is known less for his net worth and more for his systematic thinking, timeless principles, and a worldview shaped by decades of studying global markets, political cycles, and human behavior. He's not just a hedge fund manager. He's a philosopher of finance, a student of history, and a mentor to anyone bold enough to ask deeper questions. Ray Dalio's legacy isn't just in billions earned or funds managed. It's in the principles he distilled from decades of relentless trial, error, and reflection. If you want to think like Dalio, invest like Dalio, or simply operate in the world like Dalio, these are the core lessons you must understand and internalize. 1. Embrace reality, radical truth, and transparency. Dalio's entire philosophy is built on facing reality head-on. No sugarcoating, no ego shielding. He calls it radical truth and radical transparency. The brutal truth about your own mistakes, your weaknesses, the markets, or your competition is the raw data you need to improve. In practice, this means creating environments where people can challenge ideas regardless of rank or pride, where bad news is celebrated, not punished, where intellectual honesty is the foundation of every decision. Why? Because only by stripping away illusions can you see the system clearly and adapt fast enough to survive and thrive. 2. Pain's reflection equals progress. This is the cornerstone of Dalio's success formula. Pain, failure, and setbacks are inevitable. What separates winners is what you do with that pain. Dalio teaches that you must not only accept discomfort but actively seek it out as a learning tool. After every failure or painful experience, sit down, dissect it, understand what went wrong without defensiveness, and extract the lessons deeply. This cycle of painful reflection creates durable growth, both personal and professional. Avoiding pain is the path to stagnation. Leaning into it is the path to breakthrough. 3. Understand that the world is a system of cause and effect. Dalio views the economy, markets, and even human behavior as interconnected machines governed by cause and effect relationships. Nothing happens randomly or purely by chance. By mastering the ability to identify patterns, debt cycles, productivity shifts, political changes, you gain a predictive edge. This systemic thinking allows you to anticipate risks and opportunities before they fully emerge. Dalio calls this getting the machine right. It requires humility to realize your model is never perfect, but discipline to keep refining it constantly. 4. Build and rely on principles. One of Dalio's biggest contributions is the emphasis on principles, clear, repeatable guidelines for how to think and act. Instead of relying on gut feelings or charisma, he advocates for building algorithms, checklists, and protocols that codify decision-making. This removes emotional bias, ensures consistency, and creates scalable success. His book Principles is a manual for this mindset. From hiring and culture to investment and life choices, he shows how principles serve as a GPS in uncertainty. 5. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and build a team to cover both. Dalio knows he can't be good at everything. The secret to his empire is assembling people who complement his weaknesses and challenge his ideas. He builds what he calls believability-weighted decision-making, where the opinions of the most capable, experienced, and proven individuals carry the most weight. This model requires humility and openness to being wrong, but it multiplies the collective intelligence and shields against individual blind spots. New 6. Prioritize long-term thinking over short-term gains. In a world addicted to instant gratification, Dalio preaches patience. Sustainable success demands playing the long game, understanding how cycles evolve over years and decades, not just days or months. This mindset allows you to avoid chasing fads, to manage risks carefully, and to invest or build businesses with an eye on enduring value rather than momentary hype. Prepare for multiple scenarios, not just one outcome. Dalio's investment approach is rooted in probabilistic thinking. He doesn't bet everything on a single prediction, but prepares for a range of possible futures. By stress testing assumptions and building diversified all-weather portfolios, he reduces vulnerability and improves resilience against shocks. This approach is a masterclass in managing uncertainty, recognizing that the future is unknowable, but your response doesn't have to be. These lessons aren't just abstract philosophy. They are battle-tested frameworks forged in decades of high-stakes decision-making. They demand courage, discipline, and a mindset wired for continuous learning. To adopt Dalio's approach is to commit to a journey of self-awareness, radical honesty, and systematic thinking, a rare path in a world often clouded by ego and short-termism. And the payoff? The ability not just to survive the chaos of markets in life, but to shape it, master it, and use it as your greatest advantage. So, how do you take Ray Dalio's towering philosophy and turn it into real-world results? How do you stop admiring from afar and start applying? Here are the actionable takeaways you can start using today, whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or simply someone who wants to think sharper and execute better. 1. Build your own principles. You don't need a billion-dollar hedge fund to create a set of personal or professional principles. Start by writing down the rules and values that guide your decisions and behavior. When faced with a tough choice, refer back to your principles. This creates consistency, reduces emotional decision-making, and keeps you aligned with your long-term goals. Dalio's example teaches us that clarity about how you make decisions is just as important as what decisions you make. 2. Embrace radical honesty and feedback. Create environments, whether at work or in your personal life, where honesty is not only welcomed but expected. Seek feedback relentlessly and cultivate the habit of confronting uncomfortable truths. Ask yourself, are you surrounding yourself with people who challenge your ideas? Are you open to criticism without defensiveness? This mindset accelerates growth and improves outcomes. 3. Use pain as a signal, not a deterrent. Instead of avoiding mistakes or painful experiences, treat them as your greatest teachers. When something goes wrong, pause and reflect deeply. Ask, what can this teach me? What system or habit led to this? How can I improve? Turning pain into progress requires humility and discipline, but it's the fastest way to evolve both personally and professionally. 4. Think in systems and patterns. Try to zoom out from day-to-day noise and identify the larger forces at work. Whether in your career, your investments, or the economy, ask, what are the underlying drivers? What repeating cycles can I spot? This systemic thinking lets you anticipate changes before they hit and position yourself advantageously. 5. Practice probabilistic decision-making. Avoid all-or-nothing bets. Instead, consider multiple outcomes and assign likelihoods. Build plans that work across different scenarios. This doesn't mean paralysis by analysis. Rather, it's about balancing conviction with humility. Expect surprises and build resilience. 6. Cultivate a culture of believability-weighted decision-making. If you're leading a team, experiment with giving more weight to those with proven expertise and track records on specific issues. This ensures that decisions aren't just popular, but grounded in merit. For individuals, this means listening carefully to trusted experts and mentors and knowing when to rely on your own judgment versus seeking counsel. 7. Adopt long-term thinking. Resist the temptation to chase quick wins or react impulsively to market noise. Frame your decisions with a long horizon, whether it's financial goals, career growth, or personal development. Long-term discipline compounds advantage over time and shields you from costly mistakes driven by short-term emotion. Ray Dalio's principles aren't magic formulas. They're mental models and practices that require consistent effort and reflection. But if you commit to these habits, you're not just playing the game. You're starting to understand its rules and, more importantly, how to change them. In a world driven by volatility, complexity, and uncertainty, these timeless tools can be your anchor and your compass. Start small, stay curious, and let discomfort be your guide. Because as Dalio reminds us, mastery begins the moment you stop fearing failure and start learning from it. Ray Dalio's journey teaches us that success isn't about luck or raw talent. It's about mastering the mindset, building unshakable principles, and relentlessly learning from reality. If you want to elevate your thinking, sharpen your decisions, and navigate markets or life with clarity and confidence, these lessons aren't optional. They're essential. The question is, are you ready to step beyond surface-level trading and investing? to build a mindset that thrives in uncertainty and transforms challenges into opportunities? If your answer is yes, then Trading Mindset Lab is the place for you. Here, we break down the mental frameworks, strategies, and philosophies of the world's top investors like Ray Dalio and translate them into actionable insights you can use right now. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join a community committed to mastering the inner game of trading and investing. Because the greatest edge you can have isn't a secret algorithm or insider tip, it's your mindset. Stay sharp, think deeper, trade smarter.